Hey guys, it's me, Carib. Thank you for tuning into my videos. Leave me a thumbs up and a comment on this video. Let me know if you've ever had to deal with any of what I'm about to talk about. So obviously I'm in my vehicle. Guys, in reality, I'm like probably 20 minutes from my house, okay? I'm driving. Well, I'm not currently driving because we're at a standstill for the most part, okay? But I don't usually turn the camera on myself when I'm driving because I want to focus on just driving. But in reality, I'm 20 minutes from the house, but this GPS is telling me it's going to take me an hour and maybe 40 minutes to get there because of the traffic. It sucks. We're literally crawling, okay? People are getting out of their vehicles, they're stretching, they're hanging out. I'm not kidding, okay? In Texas, you see some stuff. People are standing out, they're stretching because I've been sitting for a while, okay? I can't, it's probably a really bad accident and they've yet to clean it up, and I feel really bad about that, but decided, you know what, let me use the time. And honestly, I am really sleepy. I had a really long day. I left home really early and I had a really long day and I'm literally falling asleep. So I thought, okay, maybe I should just try to keep myself awake, and this is the purpose of me doing this. I'm trying to stay awake. But since I'm in my thoughts, and this is not really how I intended to record this video, I want to share some things regarding the topic, okay, of anxiety. This has been one of the things I've dealt with in 2018, and I said one day I'm just going to talk about it on my channel. I feel like sometimes we shy away from the other things that really matter and the things that make us the kind of people we are. Because after going through that phase, I can tell you I'm no longer the same person. I see life a little bit differently, of course. So anyway, these symptoms that I'm going to discuss, they are not in any particular order. I'm just kind of talking to you guys because of how I remember things. But my issues started back in 2016, okay, and they started just about the time I was pregnant, because at the time, in addition to being pregnant, there was another life-changing thing that was going on in my family, and trust me, I was directly affected, and it was a hard time. Fast forward to 2017, I had Ebony, and I guess I experienced a little bit of the postpartum anxiety, not depression, but anxiety, because the issues that I was dealing with in 2016 were escalated. Okay, they were escalated. And so almost a year, definitely a year ago, because my symptoms manifested as of January 2018. So I know it was, the onset was in 2017, but the symptoms manifested in 2018, last year. And so here we are in 2019, okay, February 2nd. But anyway, so I remember being at work, and guys, just to kind of back up a little bit, I know there are some videos on my channel where I talked about, you know, if you go back to my summer videos, like some of the symptoms I were experiencing, the symptoms, the concerns that I had, the things that I was doing, like, okay, like the supplements and things like that, you know, all of that is, just go back to those videos and that will give you a little bit of history and insight into really how I was kind of trying to get around this whole issue of anxiety. And I don't know what sort of anxiety I have. I don't know, you know, it's not social. Maybe it's just generalized anxiety. Anyway, I remembered in January I was at work, and out of nowhere my forehead felt like it was on fire. It felt like literally somebody took a flashlight and just held it on over my forehead. It felt that hot, and I'm there at work, and I'm like, okay, what's going on? And then the day progressed, and then it got to the point where I felt like I was gonna topple over. Okay, I was kind of feeling like a little dizzy. So it wasn't vertigo because the room wasn't spinning or anything like that. But I felt like, oh my gosh, every time I stand to teach, I had to hold the back of my neck, and I had to balance by holding the desk or the whiteboard, okay, to teach my students. That's to the point, you know, that's where I was. And trying to walk to the front office and anything like that, I had to hold. This is how I was walking around at work, with my hand behind my neck. So after a few days of that, I decided to go to the doctor. And then you can go to my video, worst doctor visit ever. That was not good. That probably escalated what I know now, the anxiety. But my blood pressure was off. Okay, which was a little bit shocking, because during pregnancy and everything was normal. Like, that was not even on the radar. Okay, my doctors did not even care about that. So my blood pressure was off. You know, I don't know if it was just white coat blood pressure, where, you know, at the office it escalates and it goes up and then whatever. But I had an issue at the time with that. And so I went to get a second opinion at my other doctor, okay, because when I was at work, I just went to a random doctor because I just wasn't feeling well that time. So I was like, let me just go see my usual doctor. And so he thought that I had a sinus infection, gave me 2 rounds of antibiotics, the first a Z-Pack and then something else after that, like when I still had the same symptoms. And I should have known better. I should have known, okay, I first of all, I shouldn't be on this much antibiotics, and this is probably not a sinus infection, because I wasn't really having other symptoms like the snot and all the production of mucus and the off smell and whatever else comes with a sinus infection. So whatever, took my medication, okay, and then realized, okay, I'm still experiencing the same symptoms. So we're actually moving now, guys. The traffic probably cleared. But anyway, I'm already talking, so I'll just keep my eyes on the road and just keep talking. But so I should have known better. And so weeks passed, and I was just the same kind of hot forehead feeling continued, and I'm like, wow, this is not normal, right? So I reestablished with a new doctor. This is, you can see how this is going. I'm just getting into a medical like a trap, okay? My fault, no one else's fault, but my fault, because I was so desperate for answers. So anyway, the doctor told me I definitely have some kind of allergy. It's the time of year, because remember, this was January, February at that particular time, etc. That it's the pollen. It's the pollen in the air, and I just took it for what it was. And he told me on the days when the pollen count is low, I shouldn't be feeling that day. Well, guys, I went to pollen.com per his recommendation, and even on the days when pollen was really low, those were some of the days I felt really bad for whatever reason. Okay, so that didn't check out at all. Anyway, I'm gonna get to what that was anyway. So that continued for a while, and of course, with the hot forehead feeling, then my nose and face had this really weird pressure. I convinced myself it was definitely a sinus infection at that time, and so were the doctors. They thought, this is definitely a sinus infection, you're just resisting the medication, etc. So I started doing a lot of holistic things. I started doing essential oils, a diffuser, etc. And I cleaned up the house, okay? And I got okay for a little bit. I was okay for a little bit of time. Anyway, the symptoms continued. Okay, the symptoms continued, and then they became really tight muscle spasm, twitching, especially on my legs, over my eyes, by my neck. And these twitching things, or the feeling, that wasn't just like a twitch now and then that was gone. It was twitch, twitch, twitch for a good minute and then stop, and then an hour next, twitching, twitch, twitch, twitch. So I'm just really, really becoming really worried about this twitching, and it was like a domino effect. Something happened, something went on, something led to something else, something led to something else. and it just spiraled out of control. It spiraled out of control. Okay, so those were the first set of symptoms. Then after spring break, I noticed I came back to work and my balance was off. I felt like I had fluid in my ear. It started off with my right ear, and I'm like, oh my goodness, something is wrong with me. And so I went to an ENT. I had a camera pushed on my nose and my throat and everything like that. Everything checked out, okay? But the hot forehead feeling never went away. Even today, sometimes I get that feeling. Anyway, some other symptoms that I experienced were tremors. So not just twitching, but for example, if I'm still, like let's say I'm in the restroom, okay, I will literally feel like my head is just involuntarily moving. And that went on and on for a while, you know. And it was at that time I decided to ask my doctor for an MRI. My doctor thought that I was just over exaggerating, that I'm stressed out. And my doctor was right. I didn't know this then, but at that point when you're just having these tremors and involuntary movements, you're thinking you have some sort of cancer, like a tumor or something like that in your brain. Okay? So I went back to my ENT. I told my ENT how I was feeling. There were other symptoms, like my feet would burn. Like since after birth with Ebony, my feet would literally burn, like on fire. Just like how my forehead was burning me, my feet would burn. And that went on for like a good 4 months. And not just burn constantly. Like these symptoms would happen for a little bit and then stop, a little bit and stop. So guys, for a while, of course, I went to the internet and looked up things, and that really undid it for me. That was my undoing. I diagnosed myself with multiple sclerosis, and I am not trying to offend anyone with multiple sclerosis. I really convinced myself that I had MS. So my doctor, my ENT, in order to pacify me, ordered an MRI of my brain and my neck, etc. I did that. The radiologist couldn't find anything consistent with having multiple sclerosis. And mind you, I saw the results. Like I opened the packet, I looked at my disc, because they put everything on a file, a little disc for you, and I saw what I thought I saw, and I started crying. I'm like, oh my God, I have MS, this and that. I knew it. I knew I had MS. And I was really, really broken over that. So, you know, when the doctor finally got back to me, I was just waiting for her to confirm the bad news. And she told me, well, everything checked out. You're fine. I'm like, how can I be fine? I literally saw like a white spot, a white dot on my brain. She was like, chill out. That is not what MS is. That is just probably a blood vessel that picked up really well with the contrast. And you know, even though I was having that conversation with her, I was still in doubt. I really thought that something was really going on with me, like along those lines of multiple sclerosis. Okay, so there was that. Then what else? So what other symptoms did I have? So I talked about the twitching, the tremors. The tremors were really scary because I would literally sit there and feel like somebody was just bobbing my head. No one can see it, but that is the sensation you felt. Okay, if that makes sense. No one can see that you're experiencing that, but that is what it felt like to me. Like someone was, my head was just bobbing on its own. Then another scary symptom was the sinking feeling. Like, okay, so I would stand, and this was more prominent on standing on tiles or on concrete. I felt like I was sinking through the floor. Okay, like I'm in the kitchen, I'm going to the refrigerator, and it felt like I was literally, my body was sinking through the floor. Okay, this never, it really happened on carpet, but I had a totally different sensation on carpet, but that's what it felt like. And then on carpet, it felt like I had, for the most part, scotch tape, like a sticky tape feeling on my legs, and it just felt like there was scotch tape all over my body. Every time I walked on carpet, the first few times it happened, I literally had to look down just to make sure there wasn't tape stuck on my feet, because it was an annoying feeling, and there was nothing. And so when I started experiencing those symptoms, I really thought, this is definitely multiple sclerosis. They missed something. They totally missed something. I have MS. Okay, and so you see the little trap that I got myself into. That started creating more anxiety, because I'm like, oh my God, I have MS. What stage of MS am I at? How am I going to take care of Ebony? How the heck am I going to afford treatment? All this kind of crap, right? All of that stuff was going on. Another scary symptom for me was the blurry vision. So I remembered one day I woke up and guys, I was driving to work, and not for anything could I tell you, okay, what sign was what. Now, I wear contacts. Okay, I do not have 20/20 vision, but I do need help to see things properly. So I wear contacts and glasses, and without them, I'm basically blind. Okay, so I had a hard time distinguishing not distinguishing, but the green traffic light seemed to be scattered a little bit more than usual, you know. So that was one occasion where I thought my eyes were just off, and they were off. And then when I was teaching, like every time I stood to look at the screen at my PowerPoint, I couldn't make out the letters, but anything else I can. Like I would look over at my periodic table, because I teach chemistry, and everything was crystal clear. But every time I looked at a screen, whether it's my computer screen or whatever, I just couldn't do it. Okay, I couldn't do it. It was really, really hard, and I truly, truly struggled. So of course that led me to see my eye specialist, and I always see my eye doctor every year. So I had a thorough exam. They dilated my eyes, my pupils and everything, and of course he was like, everything is fine, your eyes look healthier than before. I don't see any lesions on your optic nerve, because I even mentioned multiple sclerosis to him, and just to reassure me, he said there were no lesions or anything like that. So I was like, okay, I guess there are no lesions. What the heck is going on with my vision? He said he thinks I'm just tired. You know, that's what he said to me. He thinks it's just a situation where I was just tired. Anyway, fast forward to the latter part of the year, I started having a little bit more floaters. I'm not going to lecture you on eye conditions, but floaters are not harmful unless there are so many of them that they obscure your vision. And I'm not at that point, but he was saying at my age at this time, I just have reasonable floaters. I've had floaters since I was preteen. I didn't know what they were at the time, but that was a difference. Another thing that I noticed. Okay, I started having more floaters, and whatever caused them, you know, it just happened more frequently towards the end of the year. So that was what was going on with my eyes. But I know when you do a thorough eye exam, they can see if you had like an eye stroke, and if you have lesions on your optic nerve and things like that. Another thing that I had to deal with, palpitations. Okay, so palpitations were really scary to me. I only experienced them probably 3 times last year, and these palpitations were no joke. It felt like I literally felt my heart pushing against my chest. And I remembered I called my mother, and I was like, oh my gosh, I'm home alone with Ebony. Ron is at work. I'm gonna go to the ER. And you see, guys, you see how you can get yourself in a really bad cluster of nonsense, like medical bills and things like that, because you're freaking out. I'm freaking out. But what I did at the time, I called a friend and I said, hey, can you keep Ebony for the night? I'm going to the ER to get checked out. She was like, for what? I was like, well, my blood pressure just escalated, and my heart it's like it's gonna give out. It's beating that fast and that hard. I can't take care of her. I have to go. And at that time, I had a bag packed and everything like that. And then for 2 nights, so the night before that episode, I had this cold sensation in my chest, exactly where my heart is at. It felt like a cold drainage, like something cold, ice cold was just trickling down my thoracic cavity. That's what it felt like, just really cold. I'm like, what the heck is this? So anyway, that apparently, when I called my doctor the next day, So after, you know, after talking to my friend and all that stuff, by the way, my friend was nice enough to have me spend the night at her house because of what I was experiencing. She didn't want me to go to the ER. And she's as good as a doctor. I mean, she has a PhD in physical therapy and all that, and she does a lot of naturalistic medical type treatments for herself and her family. So I trust her, you know. Anyway, I spent the night at her house, and I guess that's what I needed at the time. Everything was just calm, you know. Everything was just calm. Ebony had her own place to sleep. I had a little room at her house, and she was very accommodating, took care of me, even though she had a little baby just a week older, not a week, sorry, about 3 weeks older than Ebony, and everything was just calm that night. So not going to the ER was not a bad idea. But anyway, so she did that for me. And so after that, the next day I called my doctor, and he basically said, you had a panic attack. Never had one, don't know what, I was just never familiar with them, but that's what the doctor said. I had a panic attack. He was like, this is a classic case of a panic attack. This is what you had, own it. And I did. I'm like, okay, I had a panic attack, moving on. Okay, so that was the only time that ever happened to me last year. Okay, but it was pretty darn scary because I literally could feel the my heart physically pushing out on my chest, and I thought my heart was gonna give out. What else? So head pressure, I still deal with that a little bit. That's why you see sometimes I have my hand right there, because thank God for the power of acupuncture. Not acupuncture as well, but acupressure, where you press certain trigger points in your body away from that targeted area. Like you press between right here, the web area between your index and your thumb. You press down on there, it releases the tension in your neck and your head. And guys, that works better for me than any pill. That works better for me than any pill I can point my finger at. So acupressure really does help me. So the head pressure, that is basically tension. And guess what? Last year, all I had were tension headaches, because I literally felt my muscles in my head and my neck tightening up. And it always happened when I got a little bit stressed out about something, whether it was a simple matter or a big issue. I always felt I could tell, okay, I'm going to have a headache if I don't calm down and take care of this now and right now. So the head pressure was weird, because sometimes I remembered once I bent down at in my cupboard, well, to find something in my cupboard, and it basically felt like my head was being pulled down to the floor. And I remember standing up really quickly because it was so freaking frightening. I'm like, what the hell was that? It was frightening. It was truly frightening. I felt like I was going to topple over and just pass out, you know. So I stood up really quickly, and that just took care of that. And I never, up to this day, I'm kind of scared to kind of bend like that, you know, because I distinctly remembered how it felt. Okay, so in conjunction with the head pressure, I still get a little bit of nose pressure, but all that has to do with just tension. You know, when you have that lactic acid buildup, when you have stress, when you carry the weight of the world on your shoulder. And it was a really hard year for me last year. 2018 was, I feel like 2018 was just awful. Not just for me, but a lot of people I know. A lot of my friends who dealt with the same crap that I dealt with, anxiety, just a lot of stuff. 2018 had to go, okay? But so needless to say, the nose pressure, head pressure, and everything, they were all due to the stress that manifested. What else? Frequent urination. There was a time I literally woke up every hour, and that went on for like a couple of weeks, just to pee. And it wasn't just like a drop here or there, it was a lot of pee. And I'm like, okay, I guess my kidneys are bad. Okay, and guys, of course, that just led to a hula hoop of stuff. Okay, I was just peeing a lot all hours in the night. It didn't matter that I didn't drink late. It didn't matter what. It was just frequent urination. Nausea. I was sick to the gut, like just really sick on and off. I always wondered, I'm like, oh my gosh, is this some kind of stomach virus, or do I have some freaking cancer or what? And no, I know I'm describing these things, and some of you might be laughing on the other side of the camera, or you know, of the screen. But y'all, if you ever dealt with anxiety, anything, you know exactly what I'm talking about. You know how any little thing would just set you off. I'm pretty sure I became a hypochondriac because for a while there, any little thing would just set me off. Like, and not just me, like even with Ebony, I'm like, oh my gosh, my kid is unwell, what's going on with her? And I'll be losing time off work. And it was just crazy. I mean, I'm not just saying if she's unwell, I'm just gonna go home, but I'm just talking about just a feeling, you know, these things that I had to deal with, they were very serious. So what that did to me, I mean, in 1 year, it did create a financial mess. You know, luckily I'm recovered from that. In some cases, still recovering. But I saw an ENT, I saw a cardiologist because I started experiencing really weird chest sensations, not like pain, but just discomfort, you know. And it wasn't like, you know, of course I'm thinking I'm getting some kind of heart attack, and just all of that coinciding with everything. I really thought I was having mini heart attacks, because what do? I go diagnose myself with whatever, and that just throws me into a whole bad situation or mindset that something is truly wrong with me. So my cardiologist, okay, I now have a cardiologist who just looked at me and said, look, just take care of your mental focus and you should be fine. You know, he recommended a couple of things I can do, a couple of things I can take, including CoQ10. You guys know I take coenzyme Q10, so that has helped a lot. I can talk about that another time. Did I mention ENT? I saw a neurologist. I really had to see a neurologist to make sure I didn't have multiple sclerosis, because that's probably one of the only specialists that can really help you with that. Plus, for all of the twitching and tremors, etc., I did a nerve conduction test, checked out A-OK, checked out fine. I saw my chiropractor to confirm my nerve health, because they also, you probably didn't know this, but your chiropractor can also check your nerves as well by doing little tests here and there. I got MRIs. I saw a natural or homeopathic doctor, or however you want to call a doctor like that, but into natural health or care. I changed around some supplements, and you know, I just started working on me. I still get tension. If you see me right now, that is because I've been sitting in traffic for so long, so I feel so bad that I had to be in that sitting position for so long. But when I am in one position, I can feel tension. And so my biggest symptoms right now would still be the head pressure. I can feel my back and my muscles tightening up, and that is just tension. And tinnitus. I didn't talk about this, but that is probably the most dreaded symptom for me of all the things I've dealt with. The tinnitus, and it's not just a ringing, it's a whooshing. So it's like a pulsatile tinnitus, and I refuse. You know, I went to the internet and I saw the possible causes. Okay, my doctor wants to do an audio test. I didn't do an audio test. I said to myself, let me give myself some time. Let me see what, you know, a break would do. Let me just take my time. So I'm using 2019 to really turn around myself, my health, revamp my health. That's like the biggest goal for me this year, to get over all of this crap. I'm trying to enjoy myself a little bit more, enjoy life, enjoy my daughter, my husband, my life, just enjoy and not worry too much, because that is the anxiety, you know. But that whoosh, whoosh, whoosh in conjunction with my heartbeat in my ear, it started here, then it went there, now it's here, and it happens more in the afternoon when I'm really stressed out. Basically what it is, you can hear the blood coursing through your vessels. Do you guys know how frightening that is? Okay, someone told me, okay, a professional healthcare provider told me that I'm just hypersensitive. Like, I know because I have XYZ going on, that subconsciously I am over processing every little detail. Maybe not, I don't know. Maybe I do have a damn problem, I don't know. But I'm giving myself a year. I'm really trying to relax and just take it easy. But guys, yeah, those are my symptoms of anxiety. I'm pretty sure there are other things I experienced, but those were the big ones. And it's not funny. I just want to see if my hormones would level out now that I'm done breastfeeding. I haven't breastfed for 2 months. Okay, woohoo. So let's see if anything goes on with that. I was supposed to see an endocrinologist. Okay, I'm not doing that. I decided, okay, I'm just gonna stop obsessing. Let me just stop and do what I can within my means. And if I have to see an endocrinologist, I will. But before anything else, sometime during the year, middle of the year, like summertime, I'll go get a physical and see where I am. But that's it, guys. A little bit of a long video, a little bit of more detail. I hope you enjoyed it. I know it's long, but I hope you enjoyed it. And until next time, peace. Bye.